Patti Luke. I'm currently the Vice President of the Board of Directors, and I've been on the board itself for 23 years. Um, I've been with the farm since I was a teenager, actually, and as a retired educator in Natick, I spent many years doing field trips and having programs for students in Natick. I first became connected with the farm when the farm became. My father was assistant superintendent of schools in Natick when the inception of the farm in the 1970s. So I remember sitting around the kitchen table, and my father would tell us stories about all kinds of things, and then there was this farm. And at the time, of course, it was for the wayward youth kind of thing, and he was very proud of Natick's innovation and the very strange yet new and helpful way of connecting the town businesses to the school. And I had a tour, before it opened and that kind of thing. About 6 or 7 years into it, I graduated from college and made my way back to teaching in Natick. And then I was a classroom teacher, and we brought students regularly to the farm. Then in 2001, finances in the town made people thinking about ways to cut expenses. And there was some talk about closing the farm or doing something with the farm, and what good is the farm kind of thing. And there was something in the newspaper about it. So I wrote an op-ed and said, as a parent and as a teacher, as an educator, as my grandparents were farmers, Sicilian on one side, they immigrated to the United States. In the United States, my mother was raised on a farm, and so I wrote about the importance of farming and education and how special that the farm was. The next thing I know, I get a phone call from Jane and inviting me to join the board because of my enthusiasm for it. I was happy. I'd known the board because I'd volunteered and done different things, and I thought that was a nice way for me to express my feelings on a more permanent basis. Yeah, so permanent I haven't left. I particularly like the idea, the animals, and the way kids can see life cycles, the way kids can see animals raised in a humane way, and I think that that's important. For over 20 years, I would hatch chicks in my classroom, and I will see kids now, and they will say, "Remember the chicks." That's what they remember, so that's important. And I think that one of the things that kids nowadays maybe are missing and really need when they get exposed to this is their exposure to taking care of living things, and that's best done, outdoors, out in the elements, and in ways like this where the animals are healthy and happy. I think that when that happens, they grow up to be kids that respect their environment, and they live in ways that are healthier. I think that they grow up to be hikers. They grow up to be gardeners themselves. They have plants indoors. They grow things in pots if they live in the city, roof gardens and things like that. I think that it's something that it gets inside them, and that's who they are. It helps them identify. That's who they are, and that's how they live in the future. Without it, I don't know how they find that kind of connection. I don't think that I think it's important. I think you are what you do. So when you are young and you're exposed to the farming environment and living sustainably and thinking about clean food and taking care of nature, that you are a better human, a better grown-up. When I first connected to the farm was Linda, as that's all that was here when I started working in the school department and working with Linda. Chief cook and bottle washer, she was. And so it certainly grew and grew to, you know, a couple of employees, to several employees, to having different educators other than herself. Was when I was first here, Linda was the one that, you know, shoring the sheep, and she's the one that would lead the tours and do anything, because that's all that was here. And I've been pleased and amazed to see it grow in ways that I think the farm and the farm community sort of attracts a certain kind of people, and those people come and they flourish, and it works both ways. People grow with the farm, and the farm grows with the people that it attracts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's got quite a system. And I remember talking to I was at NOFA one day, and somebody was asking about the farm, and I think it took me, and I was sitting, I think, with Mary. It took us about a half an hour to describe all the things that the farm does. And I looked up and we saw these people were just aghast. Because we have a lot to be proud of. Right now, well, we have competition in terms of education, we have competition for other things in kids' lives and in people's lives. We're limited by our footprint and the size that we have. The regulations and things are always, you know, hoops that you have to jump through, and we have to pay attention to that kind of thing. The economy, the challenge, the bottom line, that kind of thing. Of course there's many.
Yeah.
One that I remember has nothing to do with when I was teaching or anything, but was as a parent. I was here. I remember when Linda was pregnant with her children, and I was pregnant with my children, and but I had a toddler and a newborn. And I was bringing the toddler to whatever the youngest program was, and you pick the eggs out from underneath the chickens and all of this kind of thing. And one of the little, you know, the parents, we were sort of there. The kids were so little. They just sort of stood back and they did their thing. And we milked the goat one morning, and then after we milked the goat, they had some sort of a cereal, and they gave the kids bowls of cereal with the milk. Kids didn't want to eat that. It was warm right out. So, but hey, you know, who would like to eat this? The pigs. We went down. There was a pasture in the front, and I had a stroller with the little one in it. Put the stroller in it. We all climbed in, and there were the pigs. They were way out in the pasture, and it took us about, I don't know, 20 feet before we realized the error of our ways, because we're going along, and the kids have these bowls of cereal, and this 500-pound pigs stand up, and they look at us, and they start running, and we're And I just remember there was a gentleman that just picked up the stroller with Abby in it, and he's got it over his head like this, and I've got my Stephanie underneath one arm, and the other mothers are all screaming, we're throwing kids over the fence. Nobody got hurt. That's the happy ending of it. It was completely ridiculous and hilarious, but pretty dangerous at the same time. Absolutely.
Outdoors and the
Absolutely.
farming side of
Absolutely.
things.
My daughter Stephanie is a graphic designer, and she does a lot of work for the farming community and for small businesses and things like that. And her aesthetic really comes from the lifestyle that she lived being outdoors and on a farm. Yeah. My second daughter Abby, she can grow anything. Absolutely, and like her sister, they have their own gardens, and they enjoy growing their own herbs, and they cook very healthy food, and I'm proud, as I said before, that when you live like this as a child, you grow up and that's who you are as a human. I have found that people who are connected to farming are have an intelligence and an intentionality in the way that they live that is not stressed, but reflecting of their values in the earth and in their own health. And that's a really healthy place to be. Well, Linda, of course. I met Linda when I was very young, and I learned from her, and I learned a lot of technical kinds of things in terms of growing things and whatever. But I also learned a lot about passion. She was a great mentor that way for, not necessarily being everybody's best friend, but defending what she really cared about and championing what she had a passion for. And I thought that was very good. Harriet Buckingham was another important person. She at one time lived here as a child on the space. And I always thought of her as being just a very special example. She was proud of this farm, and she was connected to it her entire life. Really respected that. This is such a unique space and such a unique set of programs that it's, as I said, it took a half an hour to just explain what we do for people. So I think that proximity has a lot to do with people's, and availability. So having it, close, the kids that are right here at Memorial School, they benefit from the most because they can walk right over here. But the idea that you don't really have to, in Natick, you have this space to go to. And in neighboring towns, you've got to make an effort, but it's worth coming. It's so unique.
Yeah.
There are other farms, to our credit, that are trying desperately to mimic what we do, or part of what we do,
Yeah.
and that's the greatest compliment. I hope that the farm continues to be able to set an example for people for best life practices, and I hope that it continues to be an educational setting, not only for kids but for grown-ups. I'd like to see more of people taking advantage of the gardening programs and things that we have started up again. I would like to see it used for some other community events and things so that more people get exposed here. A few years ago, Trish and I started the 5K with the idea of getting grown-ups to know the farm and to feel comfortable with it. Once people are on the premises and they walk around, and it's intimidating from the road because this is not your space. But as soon as you come in, people are so welcoming, then it becomes your space, and you come and you bring your kids, and you bring the kids down the street, and love grows like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that's nice is that the farm is not afraid of change. The farm is not afraid to try things. Yet the farm has deep roots, and when we make decisions about innovations and about changes and things, we weigh it against the mission, and the mission being, farming education and providing a free and open space for the community. And I think we just continue doing that. That's the greatest recipe.
Yeah.
Happy 50th anniversary to the Natick Community Organic Farm.